All right, we're in our 7th week of class, and I know you've been keeping up with a lot of work and keeping your heads above water, so good for you. We're almost done. This work, you're working on your iPad um, LSD implementation. So I've got some ideas on implementation and 21st century learning, which is what we've been doing the whole time we've been here. And you already know this. You know that kids are different, that learning should look different, that it should be active and collaborative. It shouldn't just be sit and get or listening to somebody talk at you. That we've got to get kids motivated on their own to learn and to sometimes lead their own learning or make choices and have voice in what they want to do. And it should be integrated. A couple of you had said that when you talk about Common Core, you talked about how it's integrated where you do ELA and you do science and you do social studies at the same time if you're not in high school. Integrating those subjects, which is really powerful for kids and how a lot of us should be teaching them all the time. We know that we have a lot of challenges facing schools, that we've got we've got budget crunches, we have time crunches, we've got to get balancing our generational learning modes of, especially with our teachers, sometimes with our parents, getting people to learn new technologies, making sure our community understands what we're doing, and providing equal access. That's one thing that I'm really worried about for our district because we've got all this digital curriculum and yet our kids, a lot of them don't have access at home. So making sure that we have that for our kids at home. So these are the things that schools are facing and we have to kind of balance this out. How do we provide access at home for everybody when we don't have unlimited funds? We got to think about that. How do we get staff to learn when some of them aren't interested in learning? Challenges for principals and other teachers to get them moving forward. We know that, and we've talked about this already, that how technology is just at a frenetic pace of change and that kids are people that learn very quickly, but our teachers and experts need to also be learning on a constant basis. They expect classrooms to be media rich. There needs to be opportunity for them to learn, and they've got to have those technologies with them that are second nature because they're always trying new things without even us trying, giving them to them. They're out researching apps and trying different things without us. So thinking about having content open for them all the time, having remote or advanced learning anytime that you want to get it, and allowing kids to make choices. And we kind of talked about this already, letting them make choices in what they're learning and how that changes the role of teachers and facilities and faculty and facilities, because a teacher may need to be online more than they're in the classroom, really changing what we're doing in education. It's really hard for people to understand this and how it's going to look different in the next probably decade. I believe we'll have a lot more online courses instead of a traditional school. If we don't have social networking components, and that's one of those things that the developer of Samar talked about, that if it's not social, if learning is not social, kids won't, anybody won't pick it up and use it, because that's one of the things as human beings we want. We need to have portfolios so the kids can show the range of their work. And actually, I'm asking teachers when I come in for interviews to have a portfolio, electronic portfolio, so I can see what they've been doing. And innovative ways so that teachers can try things out and innovate in a safe way, with other partners and try new things in their classroom. And you've already done some of this, comparing what we did in the 21st century or the 20th century to the 21st century. You did a really nice job on this in your papers and in your last presentation. So I thought that really good. But some of the same ideas that you've been talking about over about that, not being textbook driven, but being project driven, research driven, having different seating, having people work together, having the kids lead the learning, and just some of the ideas that you've already been working with throughout this course. We know that that new learning almost always has to be high tech because there's a lot of technology that can gather our information and support us online in different time zones and different flexible scheduling that doesn't always have to be in that regular 8 to 3 content time, and providing kids contact outside of the classroom and outside of even their country so they can connect with experts in other fields. So when you're implementing technology, there's a couple different steps that you want to think about as you're doing that. So you got to make sure that you have the base set up first. If you don't have infrastructure in place, you don't have Wi-Fi in place, you're not going to buy everybody an iPad, which LA found out. That's not a good idea. You've got to have goals and a vision for how you're going to use that, and make sure that you're buying the right tool for the right your right vision that you're trying to do. If you're going to say, I'm going to buy a iPad for kid and have them get onto content, but I never want them to go online, you just bought the wrong tool for that. And that was also part of their mistake. You also want to, when you're adopting, how are you going to get people to communicate that plan? How are you going to help people learn how to use it? And when you run into problems, how are you going to make those changes? And if you want to integrate it, it's got to be something that is leveraged on an ongoing basis, providing ongoing education for your teachers and your staff, and allow people to let it transform the way they're doing things. So when you're thinking about implementation, these are the different phases that you want to think about. So before, when we have deployed technology or deployed software, we have often thought of it as, oh, we're going to buy an assessment system and we put it in place, or we buy a SIS, which is student information system, and we put it in place. And we never really connected those things together. Instead of thinking of a comprehensive system that links all that data and all that information together and all those systems together, they've usually been in silos. A lot more money to do it that way, and you're not having your systems talk to each other. So this is just kind of a lot of things that IT works with already, but doesn't ever talk to each other. And we need to get away from those kind of things. You're talking about digital habitats right now. And so instead of taking those silos and putting those different programs or solutions in places where they don't talk to each other, you're looking at something that works together as a habitat. So how do these things work together? What are the patterns on how they're established, and what tools get used, and how can they connect with each other? So when you're talking about a digital habitat, you're not thinking about, I'm just going to buy an iPad and then we're going to use it. We're talking about what needs to support that iPad, what kind of infrastructure do you need, how are people going to use it, what's the P that's going to go with it, how do we know it's being used, what are the patterns that we're looking for, what kind of data we're going to take back and use it. And that really goes back to that SAMR model by Dr. Ruben Pandora. He talks about what humans need to learn and to use a new technology. And if it's not social and it doesn't actually serve a purpose and it doesn't make your work better, they won't use it. So think of that when you're thinking about digital habitats. So as we live now, we live in a social network. We also have a world of free content that we can get any place we want. We can learn anything online at this point. We've changed the way people learn. They can learn at home, they can learn online, they can learn with people across the world. And there's technology pervasive. I've bought my mother an Alexa, and she emailed me the other day and said, I love this Alexa. I ask her about the news in the morning. I ask her to play my music. I tell her good night at night because sometimes it's better than a husband. So I thought that was funny. She's gotten really used to her Alexa, and I have too. I find myself going, Alexa, and realizing I'm at work and I don't have one here, but I get used to relying on it, and it's just there all the time. We've got informal learning. Everywhere you go, you can access information and get what you need to know. I was at San Francisco the other day and I wanted to know something about the airport. I could go right online without having to find an expert or look it up in a book. I could find it right there online, and I had it in seconds. There's research, and as we know, the research is getting more and more and more at our fingertips that we can have. And so this is part of our learners' world that we've never had as kids, but our kids have right there at their fingertips. So we want to help them have these 21st century opportunities, and making sure that our staff is ready to do it, and that we're ready to do it. So how do we get them there? If you don't have a vision, they're not going to get there. You've got to make sure you have all the pieces in place. Don't buy the equipment without having your infrastructure and your network already done. That's your first plan. You don't do that. You don't do And people don't want to spend a lot of money on Wi-Fi or wiring, but you can't have technology without it. It's one of those kind of hidden things, kind of like the foundation of your house. Can't build a house if the foundation's not there. You've got to have the ability to support people through collaborative learning experiences, and the learning environments have to be dynamic. Think of that digital habitat that you're doing. Ways to integrate those new learning modalities, and then how are you going to measure the effectiveness? You don't implement something without having a way to measure the results and either adjust or throw it out. If it's not working and doing what you want to do, you throw it out and you start again. So you've seen this before, framework for the 21st century learning and what we want for kids. I also found this graphic, which I really liked, supporting that 21st century learner. And it's that kind of that triangle of personal and social responsibility, digital age literacy, because that's where we're going to get all our information from, and learning and thinking skills. So marrying all three of those things together to support that 21st century learner. And you guys already came up with a lot of tools that you use in the 21st century classroom, and here's just a few more. You came up with great things on your last presentation that you turned into me. I thought you had some really, really nice things in your infographic that you had included. And really, I haven't seen such great infographics ever. I thought you guys did a wonderful job on that. As we're developing lessons, we don't want to just do them just for fun. We want to make sure we have the right depth of knowledge as we do them. And not everything, we don't want to stay at level 1 with that memory and who, what, when, where. You know, just tell me, can you recall this site, recall this information? We want to get down to level 3 and 4. And I know you know about DOK. But just remembering, as we are implementing technology and implementing these new strategies, we don't want to stay at those lower levels. Just because it's bright and shiny in technology doesn't mean doesn't mean we shouldn't always be thinking about bringing it to those lower levels. So we all want our kids to achieve, and these are the 4 things that we need them to do. We need to communicate, we need them to be inventive in their thinking, we need them to understand how to use technology, and we want them to be highly productive. Okay, so looking ahead, we have 1 more week. Everything is due on Friday, May 4th. Everything. So they also may be sending you a link for instructor feedback, and so if they do send you that, make sure you fill that out and give that back to me. It's just, they don't send it to me directly. You send it to the university, and it's anonymous, so don't worry about it. And I do use that for improving what I do the next time I teach the class. So do that for me. I will also make sure that you understand how to do the signups for the groups, because I know we've got a couple of groups going on and it's getting a little confusing, and I know you're getting a little stressed. So, but take a breath. You're almost done and you're doing a great job. All right, have a great week.